So what makes a great pitch deck? In this video, you're going to learn from the pitch deck experts over at the Uncommon Project who have helped multiple startups raise a total of $20 million in the last couple years, which is awesome. I'm Todd Genetastio, hosting here for Tech United. And if you want the full series on all the videos to help you as an early stage startup fix your pitch deck and raise money, go to techunited.co/pitch decks. Get all the resources and see what upcoming events we have that can help you as a founder and an early stage startup. So Joel, Brendan, welcome back. The expertise we're dropping here in this series is fire. I hope everybody's checking out all the videos. Make sure you're subscribed, like I said, at techunited.co/pitch decks. And let's get started. Like, big picture, what makes a great pitch deck? Brendan, you started off.
So ironically enough, the first thing we have is what is it not? And it's not a marketing deck. Right. This isn't a deck that compiles all your best thought out marketing lingo, marketing language, sales language. Let's figure out how to say this in the most creative way possible. These investors are going to love that. No, they just don't have time for it. Like, you got to think, if they want to breeze through this in 2 minutes, you need to give them all the nuts and bolts. So that's really what this is. It's a fully transparent, boil down nuts and bolts strategy to launch successfully and scale consistently. Like, that's what you want to show. So it's much more, I think we talked about last video, it's much more strategically focused. You want to sell the vision, but you want to show how you're getting from where you're at to vision practically. And you want to make sure you include those. So it's not a marketing deck that's just flaunting your branding, flaunting the way that you get to talk about your product in this magnificent way. It's more strategic and boiled down soups and nuts and bolts.
Yeah. What's your take, Joel? What do you think? What makes a great pitch deck?
A clear pitch deck. Like I can, in 2 minutes, I can flip through this deck and fully understand the market you serve, the problem they have, what your business vision is, and how you're going to solve their problems and how you're going to continue to solve their problems in the future. It's like Brendan said, we like to get caught up in like the coolest way to say what it does. It's like, no, it does X, Y, and Z. 1 + 1 = 2. Like, just be really, really clear. Because again, they don't have time to try to figure out the cool, interesting way to say something super simple. It's definitely clarity is the main one on my side.
Yeah, one of my main principles for all the stuff we do is clear over clever, right? And especially as passionate founders, we get very excited about what we're doing. And we also have the curse of knowledge, right? We are in our product all day, every day. It's all we think about. And so we've already thought through A through Z 10 times. And when we go to communicate to someone new, we're communicating to them, at a doctorate level understanding of our business, when really they don't even have a first grade level understanding of the business. So bringing it back and simplifying, and remember, like, we need to take them on a journey to understanding the business and help them understand those core fundamental components of what we do, the problem we solve, the audience we serve, the roadmap for our success and how we plan on getting there and how we're going to use the money that you're investing. And putting that all together, as opposed to like thinking, oh, they already know all that stuff that I've been thinking about for 2 years, right? But simplifying it down, getting it clear, and presenting it in a way I think is super good. And we talked about
and that's a great tangent too. Like, a slight tangent here is we have this in our process. We've maybe mentioned in the past couple of videos, like, we review decks and poke holes and kind of give people feedback. And a lot of what you see, like you just mentioned, is you should present your deck or just send it to somebody. Send it to your mom. Like, your mother should be able, who has no idea about your industry, who has no idea what you do, puts the in front of Facebook, right? Like, that kind of stuff. She should be able to fully understand the problem, what you do, how you solve that problem, and how you can make money by solving that problem. Like, it's a really great thing, because we have that conversation all the time. Is like, part of our process is just going through and what you think you're communicating through the slide, if that's actually what you're communicating through the slide. It's not that you're doing it wrong. It's like you said, you're too close. You know too much. So you know that word or that acronym means this, that kind of stuff.
Now, let me play devil's advocate. for a second. Sorry, Brendan, but let me play devil's advocate too. If you are sending this and communicating to investors to raise money, how simple or basic is too simple and basic, where an investor is going to look at that and say like, oh, this is too elementary, right? Like if you're an AI company and you're sending your deck and pitching to investors in the AI industry, like, okay, if I'm communicating to my mom who knows nothing about AI or the industry, then I'm going to talk to her one way. But if I am talking to investors who that's all they do is invest in AI companies, if I do that, like, so how simple is too simple in those scenarios, or is there no such thing?
So it's important to note that substance and communication are two different things. The substance should not be third grade level. The substance is your doctorate level. The way you communicate it is third grade level. So that's an important note. I think also a lot of times people will be like, yeah, but I'm talking to, these high level VCs and they have doctorate degree, like all this crazy stuff, right? I have to talk like them. No, dude, they talk like that all day. They want to talk like a person, like when they get home. That's how they want to talk to you. That's how I help when I work through people, like teaching them sales. Same thing. It's like you don't have to talk at their level. They're tired of talking at their level all day. They want to talk to you like a person. It's the same thing.
And they also will go, just the process of raising money is they'll go back to their partners to decide whether or not to invest in it. So they need to be able to regurgitate clearly what you do, the problem you solve, and how you're going to make money. Because if they go, well, it's sort of like Airbnb, but it's not because it's trailers, but it's only for your dogs to rent. Like you got to like really clearly be able to be, somebody's going to go like, oh, I get it. And I could go communicate this confidently, because they don't want to look like idiots in front of their partners. Like, I found this great company to invest in. Like, you want to help them be able to regurgitate what you said to then back to their team.
That's a great point. So when we're putting together a great deck, I mean, it's really almost like the way I start thinking about it, the way you guys have explained it, it's almost like every slide is just a step in communicating our business strategy and how we're going to build this business successfully using the money that's invested. So with that, like, you kind of covered already, we want to talk about the problem, the market, the solution, how we plan on getting there. What are some of the like key slides that need to be in a great pitch deck?
I think the problem slide, just like it is in sales, the problem is one of the most important things you can speak to, because you want to give the investor confidence that you know the problem inside and out. And I think a lot of the decks we come across miss this. They have a problem slide. They all have a problem slide. Typically, they'll try to like name it something fancy that kind of deters and takes away. I like, here's the problem. Like, just be straight up. And you want to make sure that you actually understand the problem before you create that deck. Because a lot of times we come across and it's a problem slide, and it's like they position the problem to fit the solution instead of creating a solution that solves a problem. And it needs to feel that way. It needs to be like, we get it. This is why people are frustrated in the market. This is why people are upset. This is why people are struggling. Those words, those pain point words you need to speak to, and then you can sell what your solution is. But you really need to make sure that you allow people to understand that you understand the problem fully. That's super, super important slide. Everyone has it. Most people don't execute correctly.
Yeah. Joel, what do you think? We've looked up and seen like what some of the popular slides people think is the team slide, the competition slide, all that stuff. Like, what is that? What roles do those play? Should they be included, or is that like just too much fluff?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, in the last video we talked about, it's the storytelling play. This like it needs to crescendo at the money making opportunity slide, so your financial projection slide. Competition's great. I think it's, especially if you're in SaaS or if you're in a really flooded market, they're going to already be thinking about that because they had somebody do some research and go, holy crap, there's 45 email marketing tools out there that own the market. How which makes it more competitive. How are you going to rip and replace? Because they're going to start thinking these questions to ask you if they call you in for a meeting. So really being able to like clearly, but don't list, here's my note. I'm not going to rant too hard on this. Your competition slide. Highlight the key differentiators. Please don't list every available feature that everybody has and go green, red, because
So
all
annoying.
they see, all investors see when you put green and red check marks and X's on a slide, all they see is red. They will not even pay attention to the green. Like, well, why don't you have this? Why don't you have this? So be sure
Focus
to
on the gaps that
yeah.
you fill. Focus on the gaps that you fill that they don't provide / differentiators. Like that's what you need to focus on in the
And
competition slide.
And even in a summary at the top of the competition slide, or even just the way you communicate, every industry, especially software, there's table stakes features where you're like, no duh. Like my email tool, I can schedule an email, I can build lists. Like don't highlight, no one can, like they know that, right? Like there's table stakes features, and this is why you're better. And this is how you differentiate from the competition, why you're a better tool to purchase, but also invest in. That's a great slide. The one that we see the most missing when we look at decks is a financial model slide. I know because it's bullshit or BS. You can bleep me if you need to. And the investors know that. Again, like we touched on in the last couple of videos, is it's just showing I know exactly how I'm going to spend your dollars to acquire customers, and this is how many customers I need to acquire to make the money back in. We like 24 months. We're big believers in build it out to 24 months and super high level. Like I'm going to spend X amount of money on marketing, this amount on team, this amount on development. You don't have to go like Facebook ads, like just.
But it's good
through.
to have that. That's part of the strategy that we talked about in the past videos that most people don't even have thought out. You need to have that. I don't like including your full projections on the deck. I think you have your key components that you highlight, your KPIs, some of the main metrics that you want to hit, and then how you're going to hit that and what you're going to spend to get there. You can send the business. I mean, you could send the financial model after. That's typically how this works. You have a snapshot, and then when they say, yes, I'm super interested, that's when you can share the full model. But it's really important to include this. In the past, probably 5-6 decks we've come across, I've had nothing on this.
Well, I think what you're saying too is maybe two different things where like you should have and correct me if I'm wrong, but you should have a marketing strategy overview deck slide in your deck, but then you also should have a separate business and financial model, right? So in the business financial model, you're not listing out Facebook ads, but maybe in your marketing slide, you're saying like, here's our audience, here's where they're consuming information and content, here's where their attention is at, here's the channels that we're going to plan on investing in. Maybe
exactly.
Yeah, and that's
another
your
thing most
your
people don't
acquisition
have.
strategy. Yeah, the acquisition strategy slide that's your game plan. I know I'm going to do this, and this, and we believe we can land this amount of customers, and that's right before your financial snapshot slide because you go, boom, you convince them and sell them that if I do these things, I'm going to get this amount of customers. Boom, this is how much revenue that is. This is why, and how I'm going to break down that dollar spend to get there. Because you're also setting yourself up for an opportunity where because pitching's a negotiation, not a transaction, and they may see even more opportunity than you do and go, hey, what if I give you more? Mm-hmm. Not that you have to, not that they will, but they may see an opportunity to go, wow, like if I just give you 1 million more, what do those numbers do? How does it change? Because that's the workshop kind of negotiation process.
And that brings up a good point that I've heard you talk about in the past too, is that a lot of times, particularly for early stage startups, when they're raising a first round, they're thinking about like, if you give us this, like this is what we want to raise right now. And like sometimes we all have like our limiting beliefs. So that's what you're thinking. But the VCs, the firms that are investing, they know, okay, well, what's next after that? And so in this game plan where we're showing a 24-month roadmap and your money today gets us that far, they want to know, like you just said, Joel, like, well, is it possible? Will you need more money in the future? And does it make more sense for us to give you more money today at a better deal for them and give you the full runway that you're going to need, as opposed to like, breadcrumbs of money along the way, which, there's reasons for doing both, but I think for them to know that ahead of time is good.
Yeah. And you're going to raise another round. Mm-hmm. Like statistically, you're going to have to raise this, and they're hoping you do, because part of the pre-Series A's, angel round, seed, whatever bucket you want to put it in, they're betting on the opportunity to invest again, because most of those terms, first right of refusal of the next round, like they get to invest again first.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to see, oh, can I get you to actual numbers? Yeah, you got to really think through that. Like, don't think like this, we're golden. I'm going to raise a seed round and I'm never going to have to raise another dollar. That's statistically very, very unlikely.
It's also why I recommend a lot of times, and you don't have to present this to the investors, it doesn't go in your deck, but it's something to consider. Having like a bootstrapped version of your raise, like what's the minimum I can raise and get to this point in 24 months I want to get to? What's ideal? What's the step above that I feel super comfortable getting there? And then if a VC said, we'll give you whatever you want, what's that number? And having all three of those and even mapping those out in projections, in financial projections, is really helpful, because you'll fall somewhere in there and at least you'll be able to pull that out and be like, hey, okay, so you said 1.5. Great, we can get there here. Here's the roadmap. But look, if you have 2.5, we can cut that in half, right? So that's a good exercise too. And then the last thing I want to include, as far as like what the specific slides that make a good pitch deck, we've talked about this before, but it's the TAM, SAM, SOM slide. Most people highlight the TAM. We've said it before, TAM is BS, right? Mm-hmm. You want to boil this down into something that the investor says, I can see them reaching that in the next 24 months. So that comes from your SOM. It's the most important piece. Hone in on that and then show how you plan to acquire 10% of that, 5% of that, whatever that number is in the next 24 months. The roadmap that we keep talking about, highlight that. And that's where the key should be in that slide, right? It's not, here's this $2 trillion number that we can eventually get to, because that's BS.
It's an art and a science too. Like I've spent hours building these slides as an employee within tech startups that are raising capital. Like, you have to really think through. One of the best tools or approaches to this that I've seen be helpful to get that SOM dialed down is through Crunchbase or whatever, some just research, and is going to find like the closest competitor. Again, you don't want to be like, we're going to be our main competitor, but you can usually find what they're worth, how many number of customers they have, what their last year revenue. Like, you can guesstimate some of those numbers to understand, like, okay, for us to be viable, it took them 4 years to hit 30,000 paying customers. So if we just walk that back, we can understand that, okay, in 24 months, we could get 5,000, 10,000 customers, and then show what that roadmap would look like moving forward. But yeah,
also focusing on like the lowest hanging fruit ICP. We talked about this last video.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Who's your ideal customer avatar that you can address from the start and that you're going to go after for the next 12 months? Because from our perspective, that's what we recommend anyway in marketing strategy. Map out 3, pick 1, don't move on to 2 until you've isolated and mastered that one ICP. So why not show that to the investors that, hey, we're going to hone in on this one. This is the numbers. This is the breakdown. This is how we're going to acquire X%. That's important. That's far more important than the addressable market that's out there.
Yeah, I think that's great. So to put you guys on the spot, I'll let you pick who's going to do this, but can we rattle off, if you're getting started, what's a baseline best like slot? Well, and number one, what's too long? What's too long of a pitch deck?
15 slides is where you want to be at. So
and what, over that. Let's rattle off. Let's see, like off the top of your head, what are the 15 slides ish ballpark? Like, what should we have in our slide deck that makes a great pitch deck?
All right. Well, we'll collaboratively go after this. You obviously have like your intro slide, which is focusing on your brand and your tagline. Typically, you'll do like a summary slide. This is if you're sending it. So your summary slide will just basically pull one-liners from the rest of the slides throughout the deck. I like to go straight into the problem from there. Highlight the problem, the solution, how you provide the solution to the customer. You're going to have your business model, financial model, etc. You're going to have competition slides. You're going to have what else are we missing?
Team slide.
team slide,
Team slide.
Opportunity.
Opportunity, just market opportunity, your TAM slide. Sometimes some people do break
Your
those up.
ask. A lot
Your
of people
ask.
don't include their ask, which is crazy.
Your product roadmap, especially for tech companies, and on that roadmap slide, where are you currently and where will you be? And just like, don't have to get nitty gritty of like, we'll solve this bug problem here, like just key features.
Yeah, we like that from a position of transparency for the health and wellness brands, the CPG brands we work with as well. I think it's important to say, hey, we're launching with one SKU. We're going to run with this one SKU for the next 24 months, but after that, we'll introduce SKU 2 and 3. It's important just to note to the investor that you have a broader vision. So I like that slide.
This was awesome, guys. Thank you so much for running this down and summing it up at the end, connecting all the dots, just like a great pitch deck should have. This is definitely a bookmarkable video and piece of content for all early stage startups. So if you're an early stage startup looking for help with your pitch decks, strategy, raising money, check out more resources from Tech United and upcoming events at techunited.co/pitch decks. And if you want to learn more about Brendan and Joel and have them poke holes through your pitch deck, go to theuncommonproject.ventures. Make sure you check out the rest of the videos in this series, techunited.co/pitch decks.